Somerset made it 3 wins out of 3 in this season's Clydesdale Bank 40 competition as they defeated Glamorgan in a remarkable rain-affected match at Taunton by 10 runs on the Duckworth-Lewis method. Marcus Trescothick won the toss and batted, but fell at the start of the third over as he edged James Harris behind to go for 6. All that did was bring Peter Trego to the crease, and he produced one of those innings which he's well known for, with boundaries flowing off his bat right from the start. The way he flicked Harris for the first of his 6 sixes showed just what kind of form he was in. This, though, was just the start. Will Owen was treated with disdain by Trego as he smashed him for 2 maximums and 4 fours in 1 over. That's 28 runs. This shot landed on the roof of the old pavilion. The second of those sixes was a massive swipe over mid-wicket as Somerset, who'd already beaten Notts and the Unicorns in this tournament, got off to an absolute flyer. Trego was leaving Craig Keyswetter in his wake, not that the former England one-day keeper was being a slouch in any way at all. Keyswetter thought he'd perished when he was dropped on the square leg boundary by Ben Wright, and that proved to be a very expensive drop as Somerset simply went crazy. Incredibly, Trego needed only 20 balls to reach a brilliant half-century. In those 20 deliveries, he'd hit 7 fours and 3 sixes. Oh, and this single. Somerset looked to be heading for something absolutely enormous, and their highest ever 40-over score of 377, made against Sussex 8 years ago, was under threat as Keyswetter joined in the 6-hitting mayhem. He too made a 50, his was a more normal one, using up 52 deliveries before a misfield helped him there. Trego naturally slowed down, but only by a fraction. Robert Croft has seen it all before, I'm sure, but you can rarely have seen much like this from Trego. Slower balls, well pitched up balls and full balls were all heading the same way for 6. Trego's sensational 100 came to just his 58th delivery. He'd only been batting for an hour and a quarter. There are few words to describe something so brutal, so I won't bother. The pictures tell their own story. In 20 overs, he and Keyswetter had added 174 for the second wicket, and there was real disappointment for all but the Glamorgan players when Trego holed out to Gareth Rees the ball after scoring his ton. But Somerset already had 184 runs on the board after 22 overs. And the fun didn't stop there. Keyswetter, like Trego and Nick Compton, has already hit 100 in the CB40 this summer, and he looked very well set for another one as he kept on finding the fence. Alas for him and the support, he was denied by the rain. The covers were brought on with Somerset on Richie Benno's favourite score of 222 for 2, with 13 overs still left, Keyswetter unbeaten on 95. Thankfully the players did return and Glamorgan had a revised target of 196 from 19 overs to win, so they had to go for it from the start. Steve Kirby thought he'd had the ideal beginning with a wicket in his first over, but the umpire didn't agree that Rees had hit the ball. And Glamorgan captain Alvaro Peterson made the most of that by driving Kirby for the first 6 of his side's innings. Rees then hit the second as the Welshman appeared to be making a very good stab at their enormously tough target. The crowd at Taunton was certainly being royally entertained as Rees and Peterson put on 48 in the first 4.5 overs of their reply to keep them up with the asking rate. Mistakes were going to be made though, and one came when Peterson was caught dawdling just a tad at the non-striker's end, although it took some acrobatic keeping from Keyswetter to make the most of Arul Sapaya's throw. Peterson had gone for 15, but no batsman had any time to settle, of course, even against a Jonathan Mendes, who, like every bowler, was finding it tough to contain. Jim Allenby got off to his own flyer when he came to the crease, driving Trego's slower ball for 4, before flicking him over mid-wicket for a 6. Batting was looking to be a very easy pastime. Somerset knew that wickets would keep the pressure on, and 20-year-old Adam Dibble got the crucial one of Rees, who edged a drive behind to depart for 37. There was still no respite for the Somerset bowlers, and Allenby struck the 12th sixth of this extraordinary game of cricket. He and Michael O'Shea, a Tahiti player from Barry, kept their side of the match with more well-hit strokes. In effect, because of the weather, we were being treated to an early match of T20 cricket, and if the action is going to be as good as this, then there will be plenty of folk looking forward to that. Glamorgan had reached 114 for 2, needing 82 from their last 7 overs. Not impossible, even though their task was made that much harder when Allenby was caught at long off for a superb 41, made off only 22 balls. That was just a wicket Somerset needed to reduce any tension they may have been feeling, but O'Shea hadn't given up yet, and he hit Lewis Gregory for 2 successive 4s. But the 18-year-old, who only missed out on making his championship debut last week because of injury, showed plenty of maturity and got his revenge next ball, trapping O'Shea in front for 25 for his second wicket in a thrilling over. Still, Glamorgan wouldn't lie down. Graham Wagg was promoted up the order to hit 20 in 9 balls, but to his 10th he came up against a fired-up Kirby, who produced the perfect ball to rip out his middle stump. Trego then got some of his own treatment, with his 5 overs going for 51, as Mark Wallace and Wright tried to drag their side close. It was a fantastic effort, and when Wright was the latest to plant the ball into the crowd, Glamorgan still had an outside chance. 20 had come off the 17th over, and now they needed 24 from the last 2. Had this shot from Wallace had just a bit more on it, they may have even won, but instead Compton took the catch just inside the rope. So 17 were required from the last over, and Trescothick trusted that to young Gregory, who produced the goods with just 6 coming off it, as Somerset claimed their 3rd win. It was an awesome game of cricket, with Somerset worthy winners after their threatening innings have been cut short by the weather. They can now ready themselves for their next championship game against Worcestershire at Taunton, starting on Wednesday.